She didn't want to read it to him.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, read me that next paragraph, son. You know what? Put that book down. Here's the Bible.
That's right.
But what's the difference between any other? I mean, there's so many children's books about magic, and I mean, they're all make-believe stories. Heck, Cinderella. You know, there's a fairy godmother that makes her...
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is because that was never a thing for me, but I'd be curious to hear from you guys.
So we want to know, you guys, who should, and this was our poll this morning, so you can take out your, well, you're already on your phones, I'm sure. Who should decide
Just answer the poll question,
what
please.
kids can and can't read? Should it be the schools? 3% of you say that. 90% of you say it should be the parents, and 7% of you say kids should decide what they can and can't read. And we've heard of book bans before, but they're usually on like Helter Skelter or something, you know,
kind of grisly.
Like actually.
I don't know. We were talking during our news, or during the show, but I was like, they're a Catholic institution. They're a private school.
They are allowed to do what they want. Yeah.
What they want to read or what they want the kids to read. And if you pay tuition and sign up to go, do you not know what you're getting into?
Right.
It's like,
I mean,
is that
I went
the
to
hill
Catholic
you want to
school
die
for
on?
12 years, and I roll my eyes at this story because this is just such an outlier. It seems like that this school, and I don't know what, I mean, it says it's a private Catholic school, but if there's some other type of like more minute denomination that they're going with.
I don't even know if it's minute denomination. I just think that there are dioceses and there are various pockets that are more conservative than others, right?
Yes, probably.
Some you'll probably get away with it, others not having it. Clearly.
You know, I like when the viewers chime in, backing up a very point that one of us makes. So
what's
to your
that?
point,
You like that?
it flows so well that way, the conversation does. To your point, Brenda Braxton, Robert Trigg says private school, period. They can have or not ban any book they like.
Yep.
But then some others are actually answering the very question we're asking this morning again. It stated, who should decide what children can and can't read? Schools, parents, the kids themselves. Along those lines, Susan Matney says the children should decide what they want to read. Then says, what century is this anyway? Our old friend Stanford Walker says the parents should decide. And people with selfie sticks, a reference to you. You are also a parent. You fit both of those bills.
It's because we have Instagram Live on my phone. I'm not taking pictures of myself.
Your selfie stick is a lightning rod.
Oh, totally.
People have opinions.
People think I'm just taking pictures of myself over here. I'm not. We're having the show on.
Christine says,
sorry.
We're having a show on Instagram over here, and you on Facebook.
Yes.
Christine says, how sad is it, or how sad must it be to be so I'm going to read this the way you
You're
read it.
having some issues today.
I'm going to say it's my eyes and not my mouth.
There you go.
That's what I do. Anyway, Christine says, how sad it must be to be so insecure about your faith that you feel a work of fiction is a threat. Again, that's Christine Lewis on Facebook this morning.
Mm-hmm. And some people on, I mean, like these national stories that you're going to see everywhere, all over Twitter and Facebook today, were saying, you know, if this is the school's policy, then some of the parents maybe should look closely at like what else are they teaching the kids, you know, if they think this is like real spells.
So back up for a
I
second. So the Nashville school banned Harry Potter.
Yes.
And what are the parents saying? Are we hearing reaction from that actual school?
I have not seen any quotes from, they just confirmed that yes, there is a ban, and yes, we sent this letter to parents saying that The Exorcist recommended it, and we think it's
I think that's the more interesting part of this to me, is that there are...
I want to meet an exorcist.
I know. No. I do not want to.
You don't want to meet one?
No. Do you remember that movie back in the...
Exorcist? Yeah, that was the name of it.
Get a beer with one. What are the, you know?
Oh, that book scared the crap
for sure.
Here's the problem with this conversation. Maybe there's more than one problem.
What are they watching on Netflix, you know, at night? What's The Exorcist watching?
We just...
Sorry. I just want to know, like, what's a day in the life like of that?
Is he actually paying for Netflix himself, or is he taking someone else's code? We have another gentleman entering the conversation who I'm guessing has not read Harry Potter either. Rod, you have not read the Harry Potter books, have you?
Well, no, but I have been to Harry Potter World. That's the same thing in Disney World.
Oh, well, that counts for something.
We're not really speaking to this specific case about why would they pick on Harry Potter of all books and not others. I haven't read the book, so I don't know what they think is so wrong with it. and no one's really chiming in on that very topic either. We're kind of going more general here on who should be in charge of what kids do and do not read while at
Jamie
school.
Ralston says, my 13-year-old says the schools. I say the parents, LOL. I don't think I would let my kid go unchecked and just say, hey, you get to decide
Read
from
whatever
the
you want.
get-go what you want to read.
Lorraine Neville gets a couple of mad face emojis next to her comment because she says Catholics ... Go figure. And then 2 people quickly chimed in with an angry emoji.
Ooh.
2 Catholics, I would have to assume.
Oh, let's just be happy like the Baptists. They're happy people, aren't they?
Karen, hi Karen, thanks for watching. Children should be able to read whatever they enjoy as long as it is age appropriate.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Does Natasha like Harry Potter?
Oh, Teresa
Yes.
Zoller, I wouldn't read the books. Is there a reason? Maybe we can
yeah, let
kind
us
of get
know.
a
What do
different
you think? What do you
perspective.
think?
I would be really curious to hear why you wouldn't.
On Instagram, we got people chiming in. Hey, Chase, thanks for watching. The books are great. They reached out to a whole new generation of readers. I totally agree. A lot of kids who really, weren't big readers, I always hear, love Harry Potter.
I mean, where do you draw the line on make-believe?
And Chase says, the
right?
fact that Tennessee listens to an exorcist, shaking my head. Gypsy on Instagram, hi, thanks for watching. Oh my God, I can't even watch today. Harry Potter is black magic. I cannot believe these people have power over a child's education.
How about this? Breon, B-R-E-O-N-N. Breon says Harry Potter was in my son's Catholic school.
Oh,
I
nice.
think he means
Okay.
the books.
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at Woody's comment.
Woody?
What is he saying?
He goes, Baptist happy on the 366th day of the year, maybe.
Everybody I know who's a Baptist, they have good times.
Let's do some more generalizations on this program, shall we?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay,
How do
the
you
other
think about the
topic we
Protestants,
have.
Rod?
Keep chiming in on this. We're going to
Love
check
'em.
back with you guys. I want to show you another article that I just stumbled upon yesterday and started reading, and it was kind of fascinating in this social media world. So this is on Vice, and so, social media influencers, they can have millions of followers. So there's been this rash of vegan social media influencers who are pretty strict about their diet, and they have tons of followers following their different recipes, and they kind of push products or certain vitamins or certain whatever. And many of them, at least 10 I was counting in this article, either have been found out that they had started eating animal products, or they admitted to that they had to make a dietary change. And they talk about this one woman who has 2 million subscribers for her raw vegan diet. Her name on YouTube is Raw Vana. She was spotted out eating fish. And in the video, then she finally made, saying that after 6 years of raw veganism, her health began to suffer. She didn't have her period. She was basically anemic. She was riddled with digestive issues, and her doctor said, you need to start eating fish and eggs. Well, the backlash has just been crazy, I guess. This is her kind of confessional video. And then Vice goes on to interview a bunch more. There's a vegan athlete. There's 2 other influencers that have stopped being totally vegan. And while doctors quoted in this article say there's plenty of vegan eaters and vegetarians who are perfectly healthy and are great, but a lot of these social media influencers are so strict. One of them was grain-free, gluten-free, raw food, strictly only plants, like not even rice or quinoa, and their diet is kind of hurting their body. You're laughing.
Well, I want to chime in. I'm just going to ask you to do me a quick favor. Just summarize the beginning part for me again, because I didn't hear. I'm kidding. I'm messing with you.
I'm just saying, it's kind of crazy in this world where you build this persona online, and then you can't, for your health, be that person, and people freak out.
It's not real?
It's not real?
No,
Just
I'm
like when
giving you a
politicians
hard time.
paint a picture, then they turn out to be somebody else. Is it like that?
Stunning.
Right? But I mean, should you be able to change?
Yeah,
Of course you
have
should.
to.
Crying out loud.
Right.
Yes.
You should.
The problem, I guess, is that if you didn't realize that everything you're reading online might not be true, then there's the bigger issue.
That's a problem.
Because everyone I read, I always feel like, what's the motive here, right? I mean, you're getting paid by someone usually to promote whatever product or lifestyle that you're pushing out there hardcore. And it's one thing to once in a while mention, I like to do this or that, or hey, I'm trying this new diet. But if you're on there every day pushing this is the way to live, do it like me. you've got an agenda and I'm not necessarily interested in it.
Exactly. I feel like it's young people, though.
Right.
Who see these especially thin women and you're like, oh, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try this, and they can generate some unhealthy habits. I can see how that would be an issue, but
And to connect it to, it's usually people that read Harry Potter. Kidding, of course.
you may be onto something.
We could talk more about this if you'd like. But I'm just afraid that we ran out of time. Brenda had that great story on Terry Porter today as well.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Because we can't talk about that tomorrow. It's kind of old news by then. Of course we could. But let's talk about it today, because if you're watching us on our website right now, there is an 8-minute version of what I thought was one of the best carpools yet.
Yeah, me
You
too.
always say that. I love that each one,
Keep raising the bar.
because
I'll tell you which ones I
everybody's
didn't
interesting.
like. I didn't like the one. I'm kidding. No, this really.
Don't call them
I mean, you had to be into maybe the topic. I knew right away I want to learn more about Terry Porter anyways. You provided that opportunity today because there was a lot of nuggets in your story, and that was the short version we saw on TV that I didn't know about beforehand. So maybe for those just tuning in who weren't watching us regularly on the television, maybe fill us in on what this experience was for starters.
Well, I mean, he's legendary, right? I mean, so many people have reached out to me and said he's my favorite Blazer of all time. So he just kind of has that mystique, but he is so down to earth and so nice, and he was so open. So we talked a lot about the Blazers and their humble beginnings, and you know, I didn't realize that the Blazers back in the day, because Terry was drafted in like 1985 and played for a decade with Portland, that they actually started out practicing in the Middleman Jewish Community Center.
You showed us the gym.
Are you kidding me? And he did say, like, you know, the people who were hanging out there, these like 6 and 7 foot guys would come bombing out of the locker room, and they were like, what is going on? But pretty soon they were just like one of the peeps, one of the members there.
That's what I miss about that group, right? It's like we can't relate to this group of Blazers currently like we could relate to that group. I mean, yes, they were rich.
Why?
They had more money than most of us, but they weren't so far ahead of the pack that we couldn't relate to them.
They weren't in the world of owning their own private Lear jets like these players perhaps are today.
Oh, that was an interesting thing that he told me. So it used to be that all the teams in the NBA traveled commercial. And it was Portland and Detroit.
I was going to say the Pistons, because they had a great team in those early 90s. They were the first ones I remember that started taking those private charters.
Same with Portland. Terry said those two teams changed the dynamic. And I was joking with him. I'm like, you're welcome, LeBron. Because like they kind of paved the way, you know, because they realized that is really hard on their bodies. Because they would, as he told me, literally it would be the starters who would get first class. All the other rookies and anybody else had to go back in the main cabin with all the passengers. And, you know, everybody's interested in, you know, meeting the players. And Terry would like, we really need to kind of sleep. We need to get to some rest before the next, you know, game. So it was crazy the way that it just used to always be.
Can you imagine some guy's got like a drink on the plane, just like chatting him up, and he's just like rolling his eyes, save me.
He's so soft-spoken, Mr. Porter, that do you get the impression there's some shyness to him as far as his personality, or no?
His wife, Susie, so he has been married 29 years, has been with his wife for 36. They met in college. And so I was kind of picking her brain before we went and did the carpool. And I guess he is kind of an extroverted introvert. He likes meeting his fans. He is super personable and open, but he's also really happy to just kind of chill and, you know, kind of be perhaps a little shy, but at least a little more, you know, just kind of quiet. That is his nature, I think.
You know, he had to be a leader on that team. I mean, none of those guys were that outspoken. I mean, I think Jerome Kersey was probably the most personable, the most outgoing of that bunch from the early 90s. But, you know, Clyde Drexler was the star, and he was sort of a quiet guy. You know, he wasn't out there necessarily. But it is cool to see, like, Terry Porter today still being the face of that group from 30 years ago now. He's like our local connection still to that great Blazers group.
And you know what? He told me another story, and he said after Portland beat Phoenix in the Western Conference Finals. So they were flying into the little Hillsborough airport at 3 or 4 in the morning. They were sacked out, and the pilot said, boys, look out the window. And there were, like, he said, 5,000 fans back then. And they looked out the window, and there was a sea of people just wanting to be a part of that fabulous ride. And he loves that people still tell him stories to this day. You know, my dad was in the hospital, but we had to watch the games, and I had to race home from band practice in high school, And it was, you know, appointment TV. I mean, everybody was watching. It was such a big deal. I think that's why people love him so much. It's like when you kind of grow up in that that way.
I love the Oregonian back then had during the series with the Lakers, and they would put little inserts in the newspaper that was like a red cardboard card that said "Beat LA." And I would collect them like from different newspapers, and I've had them up in my bedroom, like out the window, facing out to the street. And we would run home because I played basketball in school.
You didn't collect enough of those, apparently.
Come on, Rod.
Geez, Rod, it's a bit of a sore spot, even to this day. But yeah, I mean, just run home to after basketball practice, and like, then you're watching, you know, the sport that you just played terribly, you know, of your home team, and it was just really cool.
But you know, he talks about those guys. They're Clyde and Jerome and Duckworth and Kenny Carr and Kiki Vandeweghe and like all these people. And I always pre-interview, like I call the people and we just kind of chat about what's on their mind and what they would like to talk about, and then I have questions of my own. And when I ask him about Kevin Duckworth and Jerome Kersey, he actually broke down on the phone. He got emotional and tearful just at the thought that those men were his family. They were young when they came, you know, together, and they really did. They went through personal tragedies and victories, and those are his brothers. And I said, it still hurts. And he goes, yeah, it does. He goes, it's weird being here in Portland and going around and driving by the places that we used to hang out, and they're not here anymore. It was tough.
It's kind of him and Cliff Robinson are the last ones that live here in town.
I feel like we don't hear from Cliff as much as some of the others, because Jerome stayed in front of the cameras a lot. I mean, he was kind of an ambassador for the team. It has been quite a few years now since Kevin Duckworth passed, but I thought about, like, Duckworth stayed here, didn't have to stay here, chose to be here. Kersey didn't have to stay here, chose to stay here. Terry Porter, same deal. And he did leave at one point. He had the job as a head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks for a while there, but came back here because this is where the good times were, and this is the community that embraced them like they were their sons.
All three of his kids were born here. He said he and his wife like the people, they like the climate, they like everything about it. So even though they did go to various places, they always knew that they would come back here, and this is their home.
It's sad to me that I don't think it'll ever be that way again. And I think of Joe Becker, who worked here in sports for a number, and Joe had relationships with those players because he worked with them all the time, and they became friendly. It was more than just reporter-player relationship. They became friendly. In fact, I remember Joe, you know, breaking down on the air when the night that Jerome Kersey died. Joe, you know, as great as Joe Becker is, he'll never have a relationship like that with Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum. The players today just do not let you into that circle like the players back then did.
Well, it's just too dangerous almost now, you know?
Hey, Joe Becker was dangerous then.
Different world.
It was a different world. They were certainly more accessible. And, you know, I asked Terry, I said, do you feel like that you got into the NBA too early? Because all the perks that they have now, that wasn't even a thing. And he's like, you know, I didn't mind flying coach because I hadn't been on that many planes.
Yeah, you don't know any different.
And he came, remind me of the league. It's NAIA.
The NAIA, small college.
That's where he came from. And nobody expected him to go from there all the way to the NBA. So that's a whole other story that we didn't even get into. But so he came from ultra humble beginnings to make it to the league.
Was he drafted by the Blazers or just signed as a free agent out of college? Because when you
he was drafted. Yeah, he was drafted. And I don't remember what number, but
coming from that small of a school, you're sort of unnoticed, and some team is, you know, fortunate enough to just pluck you out of the out of thin air. But yeah, that is a small time beginning for him.
It is an unlikely story, but he was like, just to be in the league was enough. It was a whole other kind of attitude. Again, when you started out a long time ago.
I'm going to guess when he was a boy playing basketball in 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, that there wasn't as much attention as there is now. Maybe I'm wrong, but now I feel like by that age, these kids already sniffing tennis shoe contracts, and there's so much attention on them because people are just waiting to make money off of these young men now.
We're talking about certain 8th graders in the country as being the top pick in the X number of, you know, 4 years from now, they may be one of the top picks. That is nuts. I was going to say something else about, so the other part of his story is, and I feel like it's the part that we go, oh yeah, and by the way, he's the coach at the University of Portland. It was a big deal when he got hired there. It was like, oh, a Blazer, great, leading a team that really needs some help. And so far, that help hasn't come. I mean, they are still struggling as a program. And
You were gutsy, and you just straight out asked him, like, what happened? You guys have a 1A conference
and
game
I mean, I
all.
started that question with, I feel really awkward asking you this, but the UP, my alma mater, I'm wearing my purple today. Pilots did not win one conference game, not one.
That's a bad season.
And so it's a
right?
horrific season. And you know, he said that he's never lost like that. A lot of the players have never lost like that. And so he goes, you know, we have work to do. That's an understatement. But he's also looking ahead to next year. We didn't get into the nitty gritty about how or what. But he said, he said, nobody likes to lose. Absolutely nobody. If you're a competitor, it hurts. It's awful. You'll do anything to get out of that hole. But he said, I also have to look at what the university does as far as kind of enriching those men's lives and graduating those kids and giving them life skills and kind of the whole person. But bottom line, I said, we're judged on our ratings. I use that as kind of like the TV ratings. If we don't get good ratings, we don't keep our job. Same with coaching. I said, do you worry about that? Like losing your job if you're not winning?
You asked him.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow. And he said,
said absolutely, yes. That goes with the territory with coaching. I know that unless I win, that I'm not going to have a job long term. So he's 3 years into a 5-year contract with University of Portland.
So 2 more seasons in theory to kind of get things turned around.
I think I speak for a lot of sports fans where at some point we were taught that, well, this coach better show us improvement in year 3, right?
Right.
That's kind of a benchmark that you look for your new coach. Right. This is year 4 coming or year 3 coming?
Year 4 coming up.
He's been there 3 years.
Well, then that's not good.
No,
we'll see.
That's a conference too. I mean, Gonzaga's in that conference. They're always going to be the powerhouse.
I know. Yeah.
But it's also, there's a bottom end of that conference that you should not be going winless.
Yes,
Put
absolutely.
it that way. I mean, you should be going at least 500.
He's
win
also
as many as you lose.
coached both his kids. Both of his sons were players at the University of Portland. One is graduated, but one is still there. So he'll be back. And I said, is that challenging, coaching your sons? And he said, oh yeah. You know, because there is an expectation, like everybody's watching. The school is watching, the alumni is watching, the media is watching. And then he said, and mama is watching.
No kidding. All right, where can people find your full story?
Oh, on all our social media and on kgw.com. Like I said, it's epic. We couldn't squeeze it all in. It's about an 8-minute piece, but it's fun. He's a great guy.
If it's easier, check it out on YouTube too.
Absolutely,
KGW Carpool, Terry Porter. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day. We will see you tomorrow.